Right, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you for joining us today. You see the people are still joining, so we will wait a few more minutes to let join everyone. Okay, so once again, welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time to join the discussion on the future of the recruitment in Turkey. I think it's important to mention that over the past years, we saw a growing trajectory of this market, becoming like mature and saturated market across different segments and bringing in to become one of the crucial market for international student recruitment. And therefore, I'm pleased to be joined by experts from the field who will share their experience and the strategies, at the same time, tools and insights needed to successfully recruit Turkish students. My name is Sara Verkinova, and I'm Senior Research Manager at BONARD, and I will be guiding you through today's webinar. And I am also pleased to be joined by my colleague, Tanya Todorova, an international education consultant who will present the latest data and trends on Turkey based on the data we currently have in-house at BONARD. However, before we dive in, I would like to provide a brief introduction of BONARD for those who might not be familiar with our company. We are a market and strategic advisory firm specializing in market research and recruitment solutions for governments, sector associations, educational institutions, and investors. And our expertise lies in tracking student mobility flows and identifying the emerging patterns and new opportunities for our clients. As part of our today's agenda, we will begin with a brief market overview presenting the latest data on the student mobility abroad. We'll predominantly focus on the key three sectors, namely higher education, K-12, and English language training. Additionally, we will share our most recent data on the visa issuance rates, providing insight into the trends we observed based on the data in the first half of 2024 and going into the third quarter of this year as well. Following this overview, we will transition to the panel discussion, which will focus on emerging trends in Turkey. And our panelists will also share their forecasts and how they see the future of the Turkish market towards the end of 2024 and beyond. Please also know that recording of the session along with the slides will be available after the session. And at the same time, please feel free to connect with us after the session for any questions or comments you might have. Lastly, I would like to also share that as part of our webinar today, we'll be running 2 polls, so please feel free to share your thoughts. And at this point, I would like to give you into attention the first poll where we would like to really love to hear your thoughts on the topic. And without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague, Tanya Todorova, to deliver the presentation. So Tanya, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Sari. Maybe give like a minute or less for the poll question so everyone can reply. Okay. Thank you very much for the introduction. And hello also from me, and welcome to all our attendees. Thank you for finding the time and joining us today. I will give you a brief presentation, as Sara mentioned, covering a few points to highlight the demand coming from Turkey. Okay, so let's have a look on the number of international students that are coming from Turkey to selected destinations. List of the destinations you could see on the right. So we are talking about cumulative numbers for Australia, Canada, Germany, UK, and US. As these are the main destinations, we see the flow of the students coming from Turkey when they're studying abroad. This is not 100% of the market, but it will be very close to what the volume in these particular destinations would be. So if we look at 2019, a little less than 45,000 Turkish students were enrolled in one of the 5 destinations, either in language courses, K-12, or higher education programs. These numbers show us and indicate demand and interest in various educational paths among Turkish students. The data for higher education sector is based on the forecast recalculations due to the fact not all markets have made their data available yet for 2023. What we have projected is that the total number of students has an estimate increase to 58,000. So if we have a look at the golden line for higher education, our projection still highlights a nearly 40% increase from the student numbers in 2019, which reflects a significant rise in the number of Turkish students pursuing higher education abroad. This growth can be attributed to several factors: Turkey's fast-growing economy, also the rising incomes which are coming from that, and also the increasing need for highly skilled graduates in a long term. Looking at K-12 market, it remains stable and it is expected to expand since Turkey has a large young population and the junior segment continues to grow. From all of the discussions that we had with the sector, we see that the global demand for Turkish students in K-12 will keep rising. And lastly, let's have a look at the English language teaching. In 2023, we observed growth across all major destinations. And apart from US and Canada, Turkish students surpassed pre-pandemic enrollment levels across all other study destinations. Also, in order to understand the changing popularity of destinations among Turkish students, we have looked at and analyzed student numbers per individual sector to see if there were any shifts between 2019 and 23. Looking at both higher education and K-12 sectors, they showed strong consistency in destination preferences. So for 2023, the higher education data is based on forecasts recalculation for some of the markets, as I already mentioned. But we estimate that Germany remains the top destination for higher education in 2023. This could be attributed to several factors such as geographical proximity, affordable programs, and also the added benefit of opportunity to work while studying. These are all factors which are important for Turkish students. In the K-12 sector, we see that Canada remains still the top choice. Looking at the English language teaching, there has been a shift in destination preferences. While we see that the UK remains the most popular, 2023 data shows that Australia rose in popularity and ranked as second. This was caused by the fact that the student mobility from Canada shifted due to the problem with visa issuance. And what's also interesting is that US dropped out of the top 5 for the English language teaching. So for higher education, we were also able to have a look at the student number by destination, so not a cumulative number. Here we will see higher education students from Turkey, which have been studying there abroad in these destinations between 2019 and 2023. As discussed earlier, Germany remains the top choice for Turkish students considering pursuing higher education programs. But if we have a look at the English-speaking destination, the US remained the second most preferred destination for higher education, and reached an estimated 88% recovery to its pre-pandemic levels in 2023. And at the same time, there has been a rise in Turkish students seeking to attend universities in Canada, which has reached 132% of its 2019 volumes. And looking at Australia, we see that the institutions there attract relatively fewer Turkish students for higher education. However, it's interesting to know that the Turkish students are increasingly choosing ELICOS courses and vocational education in Australia, making it the second most preferred destination for ELT in 2023. The other sector we're able to have a look at is the K-12 segment. There is a bit of a limitation on data availability here, but what we know and what you can clearly see is that the most popular destination for K-12 Turkish student is Canada, and there's an upward trend in attracting more students. What we can see also from the graph here is that the demand for Australia isn't as strong compared to Canada. Turkey is also in line with global trends, and it is becoming increasingly popular for teenagers from Turkey to study abroad. And Canada is emerging as a leading destination for K-12 programs. Also, if we look at the breakdown by the Canadian provinces, Ontario emerges as the most popular choice, attracting 50% of Turkish K-12 students, followed by British Columbia at 21% and Nova Scotia at 8%. Okay, now we can bring up the results from the first poll question. Okay, so we see what is the biggest challenge in recruiting students from Turkey. So 51% of our participants said that it's visa issues. The second place with 51%, increasing competition from other destinations as 13%, and financial concerns 35%. Lack of local partnership with agents is 30%. So the most given answer is visa issues. Okay, thank you. So we also want to emphasize that as well. We and BONARD Education strongly advocate for visa monitoring. That's why, as a new feature of our intelligence platform, we have begun tracking visa issuance and grant rates. And by leveraging this metric, education providers can better predict student intakes, identify markets with positive visa trends, and refine recruitment strategies. But to see it and to better illustrate this, I will walk you through a few case studies which I prepared. So let's have a look at Turkish and student visa grants by destination. We see the number of student visa that have been approved by individual quarters in major study destinations. You can already see the impact of introduction of student caps student numbers here and what implications they have. So if we look at Canada, we saw that visa applications are down by half compared to the same period in Q1 and Q2. We also observed a significant decline in visa applications in March, following the introduction of visa caps, with a slow rebound during June and July. As for the UK, since 2020, we have witnessed a steady recovery in demand and also stable numbers during the first half of 2024. But what's the most crucial here is the period Q3, where we expect to see clearer trends in student enrollments. In case of the US, data show us stable performance during the first half, with anticipated growth in the coming quarters. And so the last is to show you a little bit more of a benchmark so you can kind of compare visa grants. The slides show visa approval rates for Turkish students in 4 shortlisted markets, covering all sectors in which Turkish students enter these destinations on student visas. As we can see from the data, toward the end of 2023, student visa approval rates declined across all shortlisted destinations, with Canada approving only 40% of the applications. Heading in 2024, what we have observed is low approval rates for specific segments in Australia. For example, the approval rate for ELICOS visas stood at 51% at the end of 2023, but there was a slight improvement in the first half of 2024. Despite this progress, these figures still remain lower compared to 78% in 2023. If we look at Canada, we actually saw growth in approval rates for K-12 segment study permits, rising from 69% in January to the notable 95% in July. However, looking at the approval rates for students in higher education programs remained relatively low, standing at 74% at the end of the second quarter. And now, as we wrap up the presentation, I'd like to highlight a couple of emerging trends that we have identified from our conversation with the industry experts. So one of the notable trends is the increase of junior students. While this market is still smaller compared to adult learners, we're witnessing continuous growth in interest from younger Turkish students who want to study abroad and also engage in international education much sooner. Looking more specifically at the English language training market, there has been a shift in demand from general English courses to more specialized programs like Pathway and English for academic purposes. This shift goes hand in hand with the growing junior segment, as more Turkish students start learning English at an earlier age. They become more academically driven, which is also fueling the demand for programs that would prepare them for university studies abroad. This trend also reflects in the higher education sector, where we see steady growth as these students naturally progress to pursue further studies. We also see a decrease in the demand of alternative study destination, and an example for that is Dubai. It has recently gained popularity due to the opportunities to work while studying and the relative ease of obtaining visas. So both of these are important and crucial factors for Turkish students. We also anticipate that study destinations in general will contribute to shift depending on how students respond to new government policies in some of the major destinations. So with that, I would like to wrap up my presentation and pass the floor to Sarah in order to introduce our panelist. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tanya, and I hope the data we presented were insightful for you. Like together with the team, we aim to provide like comprehensive overview of the outbound mobility and along with the perspectives on current trends. And I would be happy to use this as a base for the further discussion, as it gives me really great pleasure at this point to be introducing our panelists and local experts that they agree to attend and share their views. So I would like to invite Engin Kosash, who is Managing Director and owner of Academic Study Abroad Services, who is joining us today. So Engin, please feel free to share an introduction. And unfortunately, you are muted.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. First of all, I would like to thank to BONARD for having me today. It's a pleasure for me to be a part of this webinar. I hope we will be able to provide useful information about recruiting students from Turkey. Okay, so my name is Engin Coşar. I am the Managing Director of Academic Study Abroad Services, and at the same time, Managing Partner of A2 International Education Fairs. I have been actively involved in international education industry since 2007, and also as a student, even from earlier years. And our companies have been operating in Turkey since 2000. So we have a long history in Turkish market. Through Academic Study Abroad Services, we assist Turkish students in pursuing their education abroad by guiding them through the entire process, from selecting the right school until the visa. Our goal is to help Turkish students to make their dreams true. And at A2 fairs, we actually aim to bridge the gap between the schools and the students. So we organize fairs across Turkey, and also at the same time we organize fairs in Azerbaijan, Morocco, and Tunisia. So these fairs create valuable opportunities for students to meet representatives of the global leading institutions and allow the students to make informed decisions about their futures. So yeah, that's basically me.
Thank you very much, Engin. I'd like to also welcome Selçuk Atmaca, who is a Vice General Manager of Eğitim Education Counseling Services. So Selçuk, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. This is Selçuk Atmaca from Eğitim Education Counseling Services. As Engin mentioned, I really thank you very much to BONARD team for this very fruitful presentation. As a former BONARD employee, I know what kind of hard job you guys are doing right now, and it's also important to get the most updated from Turkish markets with some periodical times. That's why this presentation and also this panel will be very useful for education providers. As Eğitim, we got 3 offices in Turkey in such a main cities like Ankara, Izmir, and Istanbul. We also have one sister company which is based in Toronto and Vancouver. That name is Sun Education, the Sun Education Counseling Service as well. So today I will do my best to share my experiences from last and past years, and also I will forecast my expectations from upcoming years as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Selçuk. And last but not least, it is also my distinct pleasure to invite Andiç Baran Cezayirlioğlu, Managing Director of Ego Institute. So Andiç, please.
Hello, thank you for the introduction and thank you for the presentation. It is a pleasure to be here. I am Andaç Baran Cezayirlioğlu. I am the Managing Director of Ovigo Institute, which is a niche education agency that only exclusively works with the high school placements in Canada, United States, and UK. It will be a pleasure. It is a pleasure to be here, and I hope that I will be useful for the attendees who wants to discover more about the Turkey and Turkish education market.
Thank you very much, Andaç and Jens. Thank you very much for your introductions. I would probably start that like when having a look on the 2023 data and the recent trends toward the major study destination, I would like to ask you, what can education institutions expect from the Turkish market in 2024 and also slowly approaching 2025 in terms of the bookings? I would probably start posing the question to you, like, what trajectory do you see?
When it comes to the K-12, particularly the high school students that I am most expert to talk, what I see is that there are, among the parents, there's a huge tendency to place their kids in an international atmosphere, an international curriculum that they actually is their pathway to do university. But what I also observe is that from day to day, every second year, the number of international schools here in Turkey also increases that offer different curriculums apart from the national curriculum that also make students the application process much more easier, such as IB programs, Cambridge programs, and AP programs are much more accessible when it comes to the high schoolers. These are the programs that actually is the process of accessing the higher education institutions. What the market can expect from Turkey when it comes to 2025, we can see that the economics and the currency fluctuations are a little bit tricky here in Turkey. So it is hard to say something exactly, but if the economics and the economic considerations are show that actually the depreciation of Turkish lira will continue. So there will be a segregation among parents and students who wish to go to there, but they are not financially able to do that. And there are obviously middle upper class that will be much more inclined to send their kids, since when the fluctuation continues, every possible alternatives within Turkey seems a little bit darker for the parents. So the K-12 institutions will be much more easy target for the parents, since they want their kids to go out and feel much more, integrated into international or global education system earlier.
Very well. Thank you very much for sharing this. I would like to ask you, Engin, what is your experience on this in terms of maybe share the K-12 and being much more present there? How do you see the the ELT and higher education at the moment for 2024 and 2025?
Coming to end of 2024, and as we approach 2025, I think the Turkey's economic climate, including inflation and the depreciation of the Turkish lira, will continue to influence students' ability to afford education abroad. Because based on our politicians' comments, it seems like we will be struggling a couple of more years. So, but they also expect some stabilization in the next couple of years. So what I see, if the economy stabilizes, then the interest in international education will be continue to grow, because as you also mentioned in your presentation, there's a young population in Turkey, and they are very interested in studying abroad. Actually, I would like to share a research that we have done under our A2 International Fair brand. So the research was done at the beginning of 2024, and according to the survey, 87.9% of the young population would like to study abroad in Turkey. So it shows that despite the financial challenges, there's a strong interest in overseas education, driven by Turkey's young and ambitious population. And also many Turkish families are willing to invest in their children's education as a pathway to better career opportunities and potential maybe immigration options. This means that while the overall volume of inquiries and bookings may not maybe surge dramatically, but institutions that offer value-driven and affordable options will see consistent interest from Turkish students. I think the institutions or countries that position themselves as offering high quality education with a reasonable cost to benefit ratio will be the most attractive options for Turkish students in the next couple of years. Additionally, the growing trend of Turkish students opting for countries that provide post-study work opportunities and career options, such as UK, USA, Canada, and Germany, will definitely continue to be popular among Turkish students. But at the same time, we are also seeing some shift towards the more affordable or visa-friendly options, such as Germany, Italy, Poland, Czech Republic, and Hungary. So if you look at the ELT market, I see that Turkish students are increasingly looking at short-term programs such as language courses, diploma, and certificate programs, which allow them to get some experience without making full commitment for years of education. So as the economical uncertainty continues, of course, institutions should also expect some maybe last-minute decisions and fluctuations on the enrollment numbers from 1 month to another month in the same year. We will also mention to visa situation in the next couple of minutes. So I will also give you how the visa situation affects the decisions of Turkish students.
I see, and thank you very much for sharing your answer. Selçuk, I would like to ask you, since this was shared, there is growing appetite among the Turkish students to study abroad. Like, where do you see the highest demand at the moment? Like, in which age groups? We already touched base a bit on the fact that more and more junior students are interested to study abroad. But I would like to also ask you, like, how do you see, or how has the customer demographic shifted over the past 3 years, anyway, for ELT and higher education?
Actually, as the other gentlemen mentioned, almost all of them are dependent on financial and political circumstances as usual in Turkish market. So actually the policy affects finances here. So especially after the situation rapidly got bigger role in Turkish market actually. So because you can get up to in the next day with the different changes of the market, especially for the visa issues and country decisions for the student market as well. Specific markets as requested. For ELT, actually, I'm just checking also my notes. Junior market is still increasing. And since market is smaller and less competitors in junior markets, or especially summer programs, we do schools happier with the targets, actually. And also short term are more popular for adult markets. After the economical situations, the long-term ELT programs rapidly decrease, especially for Australia and Canada, in my opinion. And also awareness of IELTS and exam preparation increased. There also can be a mobility for even shorter durations for the shorter programs, such as 4 weeks of English preparation before IELTS exam. But these IELTS profiles keep the durations a bit short because these profiles are making another prospective plan for academic preparation after IELTS achievement. This is an important point for this kind of profiles. And for the higher education, the Turkish, actually, eğitim prospective students for higher education prefers language. Study language should be English, but the location must be more, such as Poland, Italy, and also German government universities as well. And also they prefer some budget-friendly Canada option because of the PGV opportunities after the graduation. And for K-12, Canada was always on top, still good, but especially for the UK, with some some specific or particular high school or K-12 options still can be affordable for the Turkish families, not like the over than 25 or 30,000 pounds, but on middle wage like 10 to 15,000 pounds are still affordable for Turkish families for the K-12 market. Last but not least, for the US, especially for the AX programs, which is the academic exchange programs, which is the cheaper options, are still very popular for Turkish families. And also my last notes about the IB, A-level, and AP awareness is also very very well aware by Turkish students now, especially during the student fairs. Once we meet the students at the table, they come to table with some IB scores, some AP scores, and also they mention that they study a level in Turkish market, and it makes our job very easy when we place the student to be any part of the world, such as UK and Netherlands. And I think that's all from my end.
Thank you very much for sharing this. And I was just checking our Q&A and they came up like really interesting questions I would like to ask, like what constitutes the short, meaning the short programs, whether you can clarify whether we are talking about those, as you share, like less than 4 weeks or...
Is a question for me, for everyone?
For you.
Okay. Actually, it depends what you understand from the short in Turkish market, because, you know, short meanings from family to family depends on their budget. But if we look at the brochures of Turkish market students, we can mention less than 12 weeks can be considered as short ones. But sometimes we can say maximum 12 weeks that we can.
Great. Thank you very much. I would like to ask Engin and Andaç, out of your experience, maybe if you have any insights on like what types of the short programs are those popular among your customers, in what durations, whether we are also talking about up to 12 or do you have any other experience?
When you say short in Turkish market, the description change depending on the program. So if we are saying short for a language, ELT programs, it means that generally we mean like, 8 weeks, 7 weeks, long maybe, less than, let's say, 12 weeks for the language program. But, when it comes to junior programs, well, actually, there's not, really short or long term for the, junior programs because, majority of Turkish students are joining to junior programs for either 2 or 3 weeks. That's my, actually, observation from the market. And also, if we think about the higher education programs, including certificate and also diploma programs, some of our students, just to have the experience, maybe they do not want to invest like a year or 2 years, 3 years, but they like to have a short-term academic program, which is like 3 months or 6 months or maximum 9 months, as a generally certificate and diploma programs, I can say. And also, I would like to add, a few more things to Selçuk's comments regarding the, where we see the highest growing demand at the moment. So, if you look at the ELT programs, I think the demand for short-term language programs has slightly decreased. Mm-hmm. So now more students are thinking about, academic pathway programs or foundation programs, pre-masters, or direct university entry, which is combined also with language support. So if the purpose of the student is progressing to an undergrad or postgraduate program abroad, so that's what they do. On the other hand, what I seriously, see in the market is during the last years, Turkish students now start learning English from early ages. So especially, students going to private primary schools in Turkey, now they are learning English, when they are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Generation was totally different. I mean, we started to learn English at very late ages, actually. Most of us, they started to learn the English when we reached to the university level, which is actually, too late. But now, because the understanding of the communication change and the new parents, I mean, currently who are 30 to let's say 40 years old, parents are so open-minded and they believe in the importance of studying abroad and learning English. That's why they are sending their kids abroad when they are at early ages. That's why we see incredible junior programs. I mean, maybe there's like every year 20% increase on the junior programs, while the adult programs a little bit decreasing. So that's what I see at the moment regarding the ELT programs. And also there's one more thing which I would like to mention regarding the K-12. So the actually private and public school differences got bigger and bigger in Turkish market. What I mean is most of the people who are at my ages nowadays, they study at public schools in the past, but nowadays, unfortunately, the quality of the public schools in Turkey decreased a lot. So parents are not really, trusting public system and let their kids study at those institutions. That's why, they are picking private primary schools generally and also, high schools. But then there's a, big demand for private schools. So at the end of this demand, actually the private school fees in Turkey increased dramatically. I mean, now some of the best, high schools in Turkey cost like, $30,000 per year. So if we, think about, Koç or, Hisar, their fees are already, above 1 million Turkish lira, which is equal to, around, $30,000. So some parents started to think like, okay, if I'm going to pay this fee in Turkey, why should I not, consider sending my son or daughter to abroad? So that actually, affects the, I think, interest for the K-12 programs. And I see for the next couple of years, I see that there will be growing interest for K-12 programs.
Yeah, and thank you very much for sharing your perspective, and I'm really happy to do a touch base on the parent perspective and the K-12 segment. And this is where I would like to address the questions to Andaj, asking, like, from your perspective, like, what messaging at the moment resonates most with the Turkish students and their families? Like, we understand that parents are at the moment pretty much concerned about the safety and accommodation as a top priority, going in hand with the visa refusals. But I would like to ask you, what other factors influence their decision choosing an international education experience?
That's a great question. It's actually, when it comes to the junior programs or the longer junior programs, when I say high school programs specifically, the initial thought process of parents is to assess the curriculum that the students gonna join in, because even though, as Engin mentioned, that the private schools here in Turkey got expensive, skyrocketing, prices are skyrocketing, still they, at the end of, if they are not joining the IB program, or if they are not taking the AP exams, at the end of the 4 year, they have a national high school diploma, which is for some particular countries is a limiting diploma it is hard with that diploma to apply those countries. For example, Holland can be a good example. So with the high school diploma, Turkish national high school diploma, students have limited choices. That's why it's actually one of the primary concerns of the parents to assess the curriculum, assess the courses and that student will take when they participate in high school programs abroad. Then decides if that investment is necessary or feasible. For the junior programs, I see there are plenty of questions about that. For the junior programs, particularly the safety and accommodations are the top topics that the parents are quite concerned. When it comes to the junior programs, the visa is not that a big issue. Since they are minors, it is easy for the consulates and for the parents, it is way more easier to prepare the documentations and process the application. Last year, we didn't have any visa refusal for high school programs, for example. So these are the top things that came to my mind when you asked what are the primary concerns of parents or students when they are applying for international education. But it comes to the university, there are hundreds of parameters that the parents or students are thinking and analyzing. Obviously, a budget is a huge issue, but also there is another push factor that we all miss, is that the region is getting hot and hot with the conflicts and wars and the political turmoil. So there is also that's a huge push factor especially for the university age students to go away from the Middle East and find a much more safer living areas or safer societies. That's also another thing that the people consider when deciding to go abroad or not.
Very well. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. I'm glad that you also already touched base on the visa, and we had the chance previously to talk a little bit about the study destinations in general outside of the Big Four. I would like to ask Selçuk, based on your experience, that how are the traditional destinations doing compared to the alternatives one at the moment? And how your customers or students and parents responded to the recent visa policy changes in Canada and Australia? We unfortunately can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay. Actually, probably other gentlemen will just agree me so much. The Dubai is still a rising star for Turkish market. because it just joined the market a bit lately, but now it's very good opportunity for the students who has tight budget families and also students with less visa profiles. I mean with less visa profiles because nowadays there is an economical concern of Turkish families. That's why some of them even don't want to keep the money at the bank, even if they have some proof money that they can prove what is the background of money. They still don't want to keep the money at the account. Sometimes it makes job already difficult to prove the student profile. The student will be genuine for the prospective program. That's why sometimes when we have some issue with the student visa profiles, Dubai is also a lifesaver destination for us. And also work opportunities is very well demanded by Turkish students because, you know, if they study around 12 weeks or over than 12 weeks, they will have some chance to work in Dubai. They even can set up their own company. If they arrive to Dubai as student, the government just allowed this opportunity for the Turkish students or Turkish entrepreneurs that they can set up their family, their business, or they set up companies. Even they would study English preparation there. And also English spoken countries are on top, of course, but Malta, in my opinion, just lost his reputation a bit because, you know, since pandemic, actually until pandemic, Malta was one of the easiest destination that we can apply for visa, and we were just giving some motivation to students to don't worry if you don't get visa, and if from any of countries we can just send you to Malta because Malta is very well friendly for visa acceptations. But now Malta is thought to be one of the hardest one, especially for the Malta government requests many things. Almost every week we receive a different emails from school representatives, something changed and some procedure change. Almost every month the procedure is changed. Even giving training counselors are so hard for us because I teach something one day and next week something changed. And that's why we cannot catch up with Malta's speed right now. That's why maybe they should be more stabilized as they did in past. For Canada and Australia, what was one of the top destinations, especially for ELT market, but nowadays it's also a bit hard to get visa for the ELT preparations, ELT prospectives. Sometimes I look at the color distributions of my visa applications, what we have done so far until the end of year. Sometimes I see green palettes, which means grants. Sometimes I see red palettes, which means refusals. It change depends from time to time, so they also don't have any stability. Sometimes they even grant the visa in 1 minute. Sometimes we wait for 4 months for one student from Australia. This is another concern that we have for Australia. So we can't guarantee that they will catch the start date of the program right now. It is also another concern. For last, I think the island is start to replace with Australia for long-term ELT markets. If we compare those two countries, both countries is giving working opportunities during their ELT study. And since both them are native speakers, and since both of them are eligible for working opportunities during ELT, and islands is also very well shaped for visa requirements. So you got some points. If you just meet some requirements, you can just predict that whether student will get visa or not. Of course, every time is 50-50, even they will get visa or not. But for island, we can make some easy predictions about the visa results. And since island is also closer rather than Australia, it's also start to be more popular rather than Australia, in my opinion, for English preparations. I think that's all from my end.
I see, and thank you very much.
Can I make just a small contribution to the discussion?
Yeah, sure.
Selçuk mentioned Malta, and especially for the junior market, yes, the visa procedures got a little bit confused and got like out of control, but also the school, well, not schools though, the government also implemented such a rules that's actually scared agencies out and made agencies' life a little bit horrible. So agencies here in Turkey also quite hesitant to sell out Malta programs, especially for the LT courses.
Right, I see, and thank you very much for sharing your perspective on this. So we see that they're running the challenges in the market, in the destination, but at the same time we see that Turkey is being like really highly saturated market at the moment, and I see that, and you might also have that overarching view of the market. I would like to ask you, from your perspective, what would be the recommendations you would share? Like, what kind of messaging and initiatives should educators take to differentiate themselves in terms of the recruitment in Turkey?
You know, there's no one magic answer to this question, but I think it's a combination of many things. I think, first of all, to stand out in the Turkish market, educators should emphasize their institution's unique value proposition. So this could be a combination of many different things. So it can be their rankings, program offerings, affordability, scholarship opportunities, their locations, student success stories, or strong industry connections, post-study employment opportunities, etc. So it can be many things. Secondly, I think having a presence in the market is very important in the Turkish market. I mean, organizing webinars, participating school tours, and in-person events such as education fairs, specifically targeted to Turkish students, can help build brand awareness and also trust in the market. Because I can tell you that, I mean, Turkish people are a bit emotional. I mean, they like to touch, they like to talk. So, for instance, you know, they may decide to send their children to your school just because they get a positive energy from you while they're speaking with you at a fair. So I'm talking about that level of emotions. And that's why, you know, having the presence in the market, I think, you know, very important. And also, you know, we have a proverb in Turkish culture. It says, out of sight, out of mind. So it means that, you know, you have to be visible in the market. Otherwise, you will be forgotten by the, you know, people. This is for the students and also, I mean, for the, you know, agencies. And when I say agencies, I think as the, you know, third important point, I can say the, you know, agents. Because given the importance of the agents in the Turkish market, developing strong relationships with the, you know, local education agents who can be your brand ambassador in the market is crucial. So providing trainings to your, you know, agencies about your institution's unique offerings and ensure that, you know, they can accurately represent your brand in the market. I think, you know, partnerships with trusted local agencies can definitely help institutions gain credibility in the market. Because, as I said, you know, Turkish students would like to come to our offices, sit down with the counselors and have a conversations. And sometimes, you know, we speak with the students on the phone or, you know, on the emails, on the WhatsApp, and they almost make a decision. But at the, you know, very last minute, their parents say, okay, let's come to your office and then make a decision. You know what? Because, you know, they want to come and see you. Otherwise, you are invisible and they don't, you know, fully trust you. So that's why, you know, having this relationship in the market is important. And lastly, I can also maybe say institutions can also stand out by offering online or hybrid programs as a flexible or more affordable alternative to full-time on-campus programs. I can't say that for Turkish market that online works for all type of institutions, but for some type of institutions it can be a lifesaver at some point. For example, we are talking about all the fluctuations regarding the visa situations, right? I mean, sometimes we cannot get the visas on the time. So what I realized, some of the universities we work with give the opportunity to study your program first semester online. This is especially very helpful when the student have a problem with the her or his visa and didn't get the visa on the time. There's no need to postpone the program, but start the program online in Turkey, and as soon as you get the visa on your passport, you just go to that country and start your education. So I'm not maybe fully talking about online programs for the whole degree, but especially for the first part, in order to observe and become flexible against any kind of fluctuations on the visas, institutions can be prepared for these kind of difficulties. And so if I need to sum it up, I mentioned 4 points. So you need to have a unique value proposition and having presence in the market, building relationship with strong agencies, and being flexible and solution oriented is the, I think, key for success.
This is absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for sharing your recommendations for educators. I understand that we are a little bit over the time, so if we will prolong the webinar for another 5 minutes, so we'll be happy if you all stay with us during this period, and maybe we can address a couple of questions actually we have in a Q&A. And I would like to rise, and maybe as you again already touched base on the higher education, just really brief question, whether do you see that, based on your experience, whether students more opt for undergrad or rather postgrad studies abroad?
Experience and based on our records, Turkey is still a postgraduate market. I mean, I can tell you that if I divide, the numbers between UG and PG, around 60% of our students are going for PG programs, while 40% is going for UG programs. In the past, actually, the gap was actually bigger. I mean, it was like 30% undergraduate programs and 70% postgraduate programs. Nowadays, they are getting closer, but still not like 50-50. So I see postgraduate programs a little bit beyond the UG programs.
Thank you very much for answering the question. I would like to also touch base on the other question, which is not directly shared here in the Q&A, but I was wondering, like, Selçuk, out of your experience, when you see the activities on the educators in the market, like, what are the most common mistakes made when recruiting students from Turkey?
I see some of my friends at the attendees. That's why I will be a bit. Many times I just bring this feedback to the directors. Sometimes probably they will know what I will mean, but sometimes the decisions for the same case depends individual decisions. For example, we see different decisions for the same cases sometimes. Maybe they should avoid to approach, not all of them, maybe this is just little feedbacks, maybe 1 out of 100 of them doesn't do that, maybe, let's say, but sometimes we see some situations are solved with different approach from the same education providers. It doesn't matter whether it's English or academic providers, etc. This is the first impact, because as in Turkish market, even WhatsApp groups are available. They share the decision with each other. They know that what the schools took a decision for their case and what they took the decision for the others case of sometimes. So that's why the informations and also kind of gossips are spreading so fast in Turkish market. That's why maybe they should sometimes be more equal for everyone for taking the decisions. Another thing, it is also main concern for everyone to getting the biggest target from the biggest agencies. But of course, this is understandable, but there are many competitors in Turkish market. So that's why setting satisfied targets for each partner is almost impossible for us. So sometimes we feel that they are so demanding. Of course, we do our best to make happy everyone, but of course, each school has different role in market. Each school has different portfolio. That's why it's impossible for us to achieve target for all the partners. This is the second thing. Also, this feedback is for the directors, not for the regional managers. Maybe they should increase authorization of the regional managers a bit more, because sometimes we ask some exceptions. Sometimes we ask some favors from some schools to solve the problem quickly for students. They approach us and they say that they need to get the approval from their director for even small decisions sometimes, because they just want to keep themselves under guarantee. Of course, I understand them, but we know the director in person as well. So if I would like to reach him or her, I will easily connect them. But since they are in the market, maybe the directors or the decision makers should increase the authorizations of the regional managers, so they can also don't do so much hard work to connect the communication between the directors and agencies. If they can take this kind of authorizations, they will do even better jobs in Turkish market, I guess. I think that's all from my end.
Right, and it's much appreciated that you share your thoughts on this question. I know that we are a little bit running out of the time, so we'll be happy to address all of the questions that remain in the Q&A section, either via email or on an individual basis. But before we wrap up, I will have like really one brief question for Anders for you. See, like, how do you predict and how do you see the Turkish market evolving over the next 5 years?
It's actually Tanya summarized quite well, but the only thing I can actually add or comment on that is that there will be increased demand for international exposure, shorter or longer, it doesn't matter. There will be increased demand. There is something that most of the educators miss, is that Turkey is the country that hosts the most number of immigrants, and they are getting to school ages. There are kids coming, and then they will be a part of the demand that the Turkey will create for the international education market. That's also the huge potential there for educators. They now more than 10 years, they are now in Turkey, and they are approaching to the higher education ages. So there will be a demand coming from them. So the alternative education pathways for the immigrants living in Turkey could be a good solution for education institutions abroad, since they are educated in Turkish system, but they have previous experiences that can be assessed before admitting them. Also, for the Turkish market, next 5 years, Turkey will have an election in 4 years, maybe earlier. So there will be some government policy changes. So the education institutions should be prepared for that as well. When it comes to the government policies change, what I mean is that the next government can have a much more easygoing relations with the countries that we have visa issues currently. So the visa policies can be changed positively. So there can be an increase in demand coming from the Turkish market as well, because when it comes to the higher education, and ELT visa is the top the top problem that the students need to overcome. But if this governmental policies change and the international relation get better, so there can be increase in demand as well. But I think the immigrants living in Turkey will be a hot topic for the international education market in the next 5 to 10 years.
Interesting, and thank you very much for sharing this insight. It's a lot of interesting information we find out, and since we are slowly approaching the time concluding the webinar and see that we draw this insightful session to a close, I want to really express my deepest gratitude to you gentlemen for your invaluable contributions, and also to all of you for your participation in today's webinar, even if we prolong for a few more minutes. I see that in today's webinar, we really highlighted the great potential of the Turkish market, and the information and insights shared today will be beneficial for your ongoing recruitment activities in the market. So for further information, data, and ongoing insights, please feel free to reach out to us at education@bonard.com, or follow our LinkedIn page at Bonard Education, or visit our website bonardeducation.com, where we regularly share the latest industry updates and our ongoing work. So once again, thank you very much all for taking the time to join us today. And we really greatly appreciate your participation and looking forward to meeting you on our upcoming webinar edition. So once again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.